Back to the government shutdown now. As we've been telling you, it's currently shut down. The Senate is deadlocked. Joining us live, our Senator from Utah, Republican John Curtis. Thanks for joining us from D.C. So where do we stand right now?
Well, first of all, Jeff, good to talk to you. We don't talk enough, and I'm so pleased to be with you. We stand at a stalemate. Our Democratic colleagues have dug in around this demand for approximately $1.5 trillion of additional spending for a 7-week continuing resolution. The irony from my perspective is they also want this. All the goals of the 7-week continuing resolution are their goals too. And that is to get these appropriations across the line. I've been here 8 years. I've never seen us, quite frankly, as close as we are to having bipartisan appropriations ready to pass. And so it's a stalemate.
Are there any negotiations going on? Is the White House involved in talking with Democrats? Is there anything back channel going on to move this thing forward? From what I understand, you need 5 Democratic senators to come aboard and fund the government.
Yeah, and I think there are far more than 5 who would say yes, but I think they're being held at bay by Senator Schumer. If you'll remember, last year he took so much grief when he did vote for the CR. I think this was actually predetermined at that point that he was going to take us here, and he's taking his members. And listen, Republicans have been on the other end of this a lot, and it never ends well for the party invoking the shutdown. I don't think it's ever ended well once for Republicans, and I don't think it will in this case either for Democrats.
Senator Curtis, you've been around the block. You've been working at the U.S. Capitol for a long time now. Put your finger in the air. How long is this going to last?
Yeah. Well, we all hope it could be short. It does feel like a longer one because of the positions that everybody has staked out. So if I put my finger in the air, I think we're clearly more than a couple of days, hopefully less than a couple of weeks.
Is there any chance?
But potentially, Jeff, it could go that long.
Is there any chance that the Republican Party, that the White House, at some point might be willing to talk about the Affordable Care Act and funding it?
So I think it's really important that we tell people exactly what that is. It's not the Affordable Care Act. It's subsidies under Joe Biden that were put in for COVID. The Democrats were in charge, and they themselves put an expiration date on those subsidies because they knew that they were intended for a short-term COVID situation. So it's when they say, "Oh, it's the Affordable Care Act subsidies," that's actually not accurate. It's subsequent subsidies that were put in, and for instance, during COVID, they moved the line up to 400% of poverty. That these subsidies impact people. They took away any payment at all for the premium. So even before that, it was like a $3 payment. Well, that's important because that's skin in the game, if that makes sense. And we know there's a lot of fraud of insurance agents that have signed people up because they don't have to make any premium. And in many cases, they don't even tell the people they're signing up. So that's why there's pushback from Republicans. This isn't about the original Affordable Care Act. This is about those subsidies that were put in later that add up to $350 billion. And as you well know, we are skyrocketing in debt. And we're just saying, no, you can't add another $350 billion to a program that you yourselves said was temporary.
What do you say to the argument that premiums are set to skyrocket and it's estimated that millions of U.S. citizens, not illegal aliens, but U.S. citizens, are going to have to drop their coverage because it's prohibitively expensive? Your response?
Well, yeah, first of all, look, if you're in that bracket where you're 400% of poverty, you need to be picking up the other end of the stick, right? If you're in that category where you're paying not even $3 for your premium, you need to be willing to pick up that part of the stick because we simply don't have the money to give everything to everybody anytime they want it. Look, Republicans are very sensitive to people going without insurance, but let's get the right people and the right program in place to cover them and not waste money on people, for instance, at 400% of the poverty level.
J.D. Vance said, let's get the government running and maybe we can have a conversation about this. Do you think that conversation will happen with this Democratic Party and this Republican Party at loggerheads at this point? Are they really willing to make progress on health care?
So if it's progress on health care, yes, the president himself, he told Mr. Schumer, let's revisit the Affordable Care Act. It's got a lot of flaws. Let's revisit it. That was from the president. But that's not what's being asked. What's being asked is reinstate a program that was intended to be temporary and have all these flaws with it, that we're not protecting the American tax dollar. And I think my Republican colleagues are very ready to talk about a reform to those increased subsidies to make sure they're going to the right people. But if you're just talking about a blanket extend what was meant to be temporary, and by the way, Jeff, I think it's really important to point out something that happens when the government subsidizes things. A number of the major car companies announced today that they were going to reduce the price of their EVs by a remarkable $7,500, the exact amount that was the government subsidy. And we know when we subsidize things, the prices often go up in exact proportion to the subsidy. We see that with education. And this is one of the problems with our health care. It's all skyrocket. The more government gets involved, the more the prices go up. And so I do think it's worth the conversation about making sure that those most in need, those most vulnerable, are getting the protections they need. But let's do it the right way.
This is Senator John Curtis, of course, Utah Senator John Curtis. I only have a moment, but I appreciate you being on. I want to ask you what you're going to be doing over the next couple of days, because this is obviously dominating the conversation, and I understand there's no vote scheduled again till Friday.
So tomorrow is a Jewish holiday, and I think both Republicans and Democrats agreed that it would be appropriate to recognize that, and that's why there's no votes tomorrow. And it's from sundown today till sundown tomorrow. So those of us living far away, it doesn't make sense to hop on the plane to come home and then have to fly back tomorrow. Those who live closer by are probably going home. I know we have votes scheduled for Friday. I'm not sure what the weekend looks like. As you well know, there's some sensitive things happening back in the state with the church shooting and the death of President Nelson that puts some of us, me in particular, in a position of trying to balance where I most belong, if that makes sense. And so I'll be making those decisions about the weekend, and a lot of that will have to do if there's votes scheduled here.
I understand. I appreciate a candid discussion about what's going on right now in D.C. Thanks so much. We appreciate it. Senator John Curtis from the great state of Utah, our Republican senator. It's 4:42 at KSL News Radio.